In your gardens and landscapes, do you have a water feature? Do you love the sound of the trickling of water, especially when you're sitting in your gardens at night? I know that we do, and today we're going to take you for a tour of the Waterfall Garden here at Garden Crossings. Hi, I'm Heidi. Today we're going to take a tour, like I said, through the Waterfall Garden and show you all of the beautiful annuals, perennials, and shrubs that are blooming here in mid-July. So let's go ahead and take a walk through the garden. There's only one thing that could make this scene, this spot in this garden be better. And that's if we didn't have so much traffic behind us. It's so peaceful, so quiet, and so serene. Just listening to the water bubble with a rock fountain as it's making its ways down the falls. It's the best time to be here is at night when there's no traffic, because it's quiet and it's just the sound of water creates peace in the garden. And then you get that semis rushing past. It just really messes with the serenity of this space. So here we are looking at the Waterfall Garden. Rock bubbling, water falling, and just this turned out spectacular this year. Every year this garden is kind of a, I don't know, it's hard, it's tricky. With that waterfall, sometimes the water gets routed weird and we have wet spots or dry spots, and plants just always, it's been hard to find the right plant for this location. But I think we nailed it this year, especially in the middle of the waterfalls. We have the Sun Patience Hot Pink with the Euphorbia Diamond Frost that's circling it or framing it in. And both of those plants are doing fabulous. I couldn't ask for a better mix of color. They're loving life in that spot and are really putting on a very bold look of color. Last year we had a lot of colors going on and it just felt confusing. Where this year I think that the color scheme we used is just more peaceful feeling and not as busy. So we have a lot of the Sun Patience just lining all the spaces in the garden. Up there in the back we've got the incredible yellow sunflowers, which I love how they just continue to flower all summer. And when it's a breezy day, they just kind of wave and blow in the breeze. It's so pretty looking. We do have a little pocket of color of various annuals, like in front of me here. We have the torchlight coleus. We have lime time coleus. There's the begonias, the surefire white. Some more diamond frost. And then the argyratum artist blue. And those will be colors that we will kind of see consistently throughout this bed. Just kind of sprinkled here and there, but it's going to be those Sun Patience that we're going to consistently see in mass. As we make our way through the garden, up there on the top of that fall, we have the Veronica white wands. That was beautiful about 3 weeks ago. It's still giving us a lot of that beautiful white color, but it is getting near the end of its flower cycle. So that will get trimmed back and will reflush and flower in probably another month. We have the begonias, the cherry cordial begonias, and they are doing fabulous. Deep, dark, glossy black foliage, beautiful, vibrant red flowers, all planted in this full sun location and just doing wonderful. We have a planting here of phlox, and I love what they did here. I love grouping things together. I've said that time and time again. These are the phlox that are part of the Luminary series. We've got Backlight, we've got Sunset Coral, and then let me find out what this purple one is, because this one is drawing a blank to the name. So we're going to go in and look closer. This is the Luminary Ultraviolet. So Ultraviolet, Sunset Coral, and then the beautiful white is Backlight. It's a great grouping of color. I love using tall phlox in the gardens because they do have that height. Standing usually 24, maybe 30 inches tall. They can kind of get placed behind some of the shorter things in the garden and just really kind of say, hey, don't forget about us back here. We're ready to shine and add color to your garden as well. Tucked in the back there, we've got some sage advice, part of our Russian sage collection. And that's just kind of just neatly placed back there. Just kind of a filler inner, not a bold sense of color, but just a soft filler inner that is doing fabulous back there. We have our Invincible Spirit hydrangeas. If you watched last month's video, you would have seen these in their prime. They're still looking great, but they were in their prime about a month ago. It was a deep, beautiful bubblegum pink flower, where now we're noticing the flowers are starting to fade a little bit. Now this is part of the Invincible series, which are re-blooming hydrangeas. So you do notice on these plants that there's a lot of lighter color blooms, and then you're noticing there's a few little darker blooms kind of making their way through, and those darker blooms are new growth, new flowers on new growth. So you do get a sense of kind of a two-tone of color here on these Invincible hydrangeas. Making our way around, we're seeing more hydrangeas. These are the Incredible hydrangeas. Incredible hydrangeas are much like Annabelle, although they shouldn't even be talked about in the same sentence, because the Incredible hydrangeas have sturdy stems, extra large flowers, and don't flop like the traditional Annabelle hydrangeas. They have a very big presence in the garden, standing about 4 to 5 foot tall. And this particular one here is about 5 to 6 foot wide. So this is really, really loving life here in the garden. We have some Daisy May leucanthemum, and they're looking pretty good yet, holding on to their white flowers. We'll go ahead and give those a trim once they start to fade, and they too will reflower here in the garden. That's one thing I like about a lot of the perennials we use. If they get a trim, they'll reflush and reflower. So here's an example, and this is actually an example of salvia that wasn't trimmed. You can see all of the old blooms that bloomed back in May. It pushed up new growth from the center, and you're seeing fresh new flowers here in the middle. This is Pink Dawn. We have an Incredible blush hydrangea tucked between two Incredibles. Just such an incredible looking space in the garden with all those large flowers and sturdy stems, and they look so neat and tidy because they're able to hold the weight of the large blooms that they produce. Got some more daisies here, looking great. I love daisies. Daisies are just kind of an iconic flower, I think, in the garden, and the canopy of color of these Daisy May is just spectacular. You can't even see the foliage underneath. Another Incredible blush hydrangea planted next to a Firelight hydrangea. So the Incredible and the Invincible hydrangeas are part of the smooth hydrangea or arborescent hydrangea family. They bloom off of the new growth, so very reliable bloomers. And here we have a panicle hydrangea or hardy hydrangea called Firelight, and this one too is very reliable, blooming off of the new growth. Firelight features more of a lacy looking flower, and here in Michigan, zone 6A, this is going to turn bright fire engine red. Maybe I shouldn't say that. They're going to turn bright magenta later on in the summer. That is one thing we're fortunate about here in Michigan, is our panicle or hardy hydrangeas get beautiful later on in the season. I know those of you in the south, maybe that's not such the case for you, but for us, we are really fortunate with the hydrangea and the color we get. We've got another Incredible blush over there looking wonderful, and that's planted by a Tough Stuff hydrangea. Tough Stuff is a mountain hydrangea, and it has to be tough. If you're growing up in the mountains of Japan, Tough Stuff has got to be in your name, right? So a lot of the new Let's Dance series of hydrangeas are bred using the mountain hydrangea parentage because they are just so hardy, even down to zone 5. This here was not trimmed in the fall. We do not trim our mountain or our big leaf hydrangeas in the fall, because if we did, we'd be sacrificing our buds, which would be the flowers that we're currently seeing. So it's best to never trim your big leaf and mountain hydrangeas, unless if you absolutely have to, but know that you might be sacrificing the next season's blooms. So Tough Stuff is a rebloomer. So the blooms we're seeing now, like I mentioned, are from the buds from last year. It's putting on some new growth right now. So a lot of this green we're seeing will also put on some buds later on in the summer. And we're going to kind of get in here and get personal and see. I don't think, no, not a bud forming yet. In my home garden, the new growth I'm starting to see some buds on, but here I'm not seeing any buds quite yet. But this will bloom a little bit later in the season with another round of flowers. The flowers we're currently seeing will get buried. We call it burying the dead. And it'll have a fresh new canopy of blooms. So you can see this one tough stuff hydrangea has gotten very large. It's been in here for over 10 years and it's doing really fabulous here in this garden. Making our way to the other side of the bed, we have another tough stuff, and you can see too, this one is doing equally as well, putting on a lot of blooms and looking really nice. Got some more daisy May, and as I mentioned, we had taken various annuals and kind of poked them through to give kind of a consistent look here in this garden. We're going to head up through and under this pergola and take a look at some of the things inside this garden bed. Usually I kind of walk the perimeter, but I forget that we have some nice things planted inside as well. Looking up here at the pergola, you're seeing that big leaf vine kind of dangling, and then the whole top is covered with Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. So from the aerial shot, this is a beautiful garden. Even from the road though, you can see the purple of that jazzberry in this garden space. Looking top down, we're up close to the Suncredible. They are just loaded with pollinators right now. It's so pretty to see. So we have some new hydrangeas that were recently planted. These are the Let's Dance Sky View hydrangeas. And typically they're going to have more of a pink flower, but our soil up here is nice enough that it is giving us more lavender tones. Now these plants are only about 10 inches tall, and like I mentioned, they were just planted, so they're not mature by any means, but at least you're able to see a little bit the color here that we're getting in this bed from the Sky View hydrangea. Let's Dance Sky View. We have one shade tree in this little garden, so we try to utilize the shade the best we can. So we have a few hostas kind of tucked under there. They're still pretty small, so we'll watch them as they grow. Some pulmonaria, which is pinkadot, bloomed earlier this spring. We have a few more ligularia, it looks like, that were just planted, and these two look like they didn't get enough water, so we'll see how they do. As far as the variety of ligularia, actually, you know what, they're not ligularia, they're Orindenia, Fusion of Fire. So we're going to have to make sure they get out and get water on this, because that's going to be a unique, different plant here in this garden. We don't have any of those, and I know they have great foliage color, so we might even have to just bring a bucket just to get them a jump start of water before the underground kicks in again. But pretty cool to see that. Ligularia, this is Ligularia. This is Ligularia tractor seat. We don't carry this one because it's just such a monster and it wouldn't ship good. But look at those leaves, huge leaves. This plant is about 3.5 foot tall. Really pretty yellow flowers. And so it's got nice flowers, and it looks nice here in this garden. I mean, the big size of it fits good. There's just certain plants though that are kind of tricky when we go to do our shipping. They wouldn't impress you in the box, let's put it that way. So yeah, one we don't carry, but nonetheless is a very nice variety. I mentioned shipping. Garden Crossings is an online greenhouse, and we ship plants all over the United States. You can head to our website, gardencrossings.com, and we will get these plants that you're interested in delivered right to your door. If you are local to Zeeland, Michigan, or are in the area, we welcome you to stop by and check out our trial gardens that we're walking through today, or stop in and visit us at our retail garden center. Right there in the background is the retail garden center. We also have a butterfly house, and there's monarchs all over the gardens today. We'd welcome you to come and check out our butterfly house as well. Back side of the bed, we've got some more Veronica. This is pretty. I think this is Sunny Boulevard. These are old plants we don't carry anymore. They're really still pretty in the garden. A lot of this garden bed does have some old varieties that have been discontinued, but we don't dig them out just because sometimes there's a place for things that have been discontinued because they're different and they're beautiful. Check out these allium. These are looking really nice. These are a taller variety. These are about 3 foot tall. This is a variety we don't carry, but something we got some sample plants of, and they're doing very nice here in the garden. Agastache, Queen Nectarine, love this plant. We carry this one. Blooms virtually all summer, great for the hummingbirds, the pollinators. Planted here next to one of our old varieties of hydrangeas that we've carried. And you can see, like, this is why we don't carry this variety anymore, because this is what it does, like a lot of green with just a few flowers. So obviously this plant experienced a lot of winter kill with the buds. I'm only seeing maybe 4 flowers right now, which to me, this is a big plant that takes up a lot of real estate and is not putting on much of a show. Now I am seeing that there are some buds that are forming. Let's see. Now here's one. So it might get a few more flowers as the season goes on, but this plant is just, it's too big, too much real estate for not an impressive show. So this is where I say to you, if you've got old big leaf hydrangeas in your yard that just don't do much or don't do nothing, they're not going to. The chances of them doing anything is probably slim to nothing. I recommend you dig them out and get one of the new varieties of hydrangeas. Try one of the Let's Dance, the new reblooming hydrangeas that are hardy down to zone 5. And they should be rewarding you with far more flowers than what we're seeing here on this particular hydrangea. Down to level ground again. We're going to head back towards the front of the waterfall and see some of the mass plantings that are going on the side over there. Firelight hydrangea here again in front of us, along with a lot of daisy May, leucanthemum. Passing through the Itea Little Henry to a splash of color. Here we have the Sun Patient Hot Pink, along with the Surefire White Begonias, Euphorbia Diamond Frost, Coleus Color Blaze Lime Time, Coleus Color Blaze Torchlight, Pennisetum Grass, Pennisetum rubrum there in the back, just dancing in the breeze. I love that about the ornamental grasses. They add so much motion and interest into a garden. Argyratum, Artist Blue. And onward it goes. If you're looking to create massive color, Sun Patience. I recommend Sun Patience. As long as you have a full sun area, you have access to water, these plants are going to reward you with beautiful color all summer long. If you have any questions or comments on today's waterfall tour, please feel free to leave them below. If you're new to our channel, we welcome you to subscribe. And if there was anything that looked intriguing to you today and you want more information, you can head over to our website, gardencrossings.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.